this computer. We are off. Hello, everybody. Jackie D signing in again for another of my so delicious conversations. I'm just having so much fun with this, as well as getting messages out there to the world, which is just so needed right now. And today I have Mandy Preece with me. Welcome, Mandy.
Oh, thank you. So excited.
Yeah, because Mandy and I met, years ago, wasn't it now, Mandy? Probably 8 or 9 years ago, I would think.
I worked it out 2011.
Right. So, 10 years. We're probably in double figures.
Yeah.
And we met through the Soul Midwifery. We'd both been through the course with lovely Felicity Warner, who's created the Soul Midwifery Foundation, all about spiritual support for those that are crossing the sacred threshold. Absolutely beautiful work. So if that's your calling, do get in touch with Mandy, but we're going to discuss a lot more about that. So Mandy came on one of my courses that I was running at the time, and then our lives went in different directions. I was doing my events, and then I went off traveling, and we've come back together now. And it's like, it's like we haven't had all those years apart, isn't it, Mandy? We were just chatting there and thought, we got to do an interview here. That's what we're here for. So I'm not going to say very much. I'm going to let Mandy do the talking, but she's got a beautiful book. She's written a fantastic book, which she's going
Hold up the book.
All about being rock.
Being rock.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the colour in my room has just caught my eye, so I just wanted to explain why I've got this beautiful aura colour thing in my room, because I've got a film on my window that when the sun shines, it creates all these beautiful, colourful patterns, and I just love it. I can't see out the window, but beautiful colour in my room. So anyway, that's enough about me, because I so want to get into all the juicy bits that Mandy's going to tell us about. So over to you, Mandy. Tell us about being rock and where you've been in these last 10 years since I last saw you.
Oh, well, I wanted to say thank you to you, because you started me on this whole journey. I did your Art of Dying workshop 10 years ago. I was already volunteering for Macmillan Caring locally at the time. And what happened was I did Felicity Warner's training, trained as a soul midwife, and then asked Macmillan if I could go on the ward rather than be a volunteer in the day centre and sit with people who were dying on their own. And it took a while for them to agree to give me a go. But when I did get on the ward, the first night on the ward, a very lovely but quite scary, given the situation, my first night on the ward, staff nurse said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, how about I go and listen? And she said, very good, you do that. And what happened, Jackie, was I was listening and being a listener, but I was noticing that wasn't always kind of working, and I couldn't put my finger on what I was getting wrong. Now, obviously the patients and the families were not always expecting me to arrive because I was a volunteer, so I would bed hop and say hi. But when they did invite me to sit down and they were talking, especially when they fell into deeper conversation, sometimes I was noticing that suddenly they withdraw from that deeper conversation, and I was thinking, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm doing all the right things. I'm leaning forward and I'm making eye contact. Yeah. Why isn't it working? So after quite a while, I just thought, I'm going to throw away what I think I know about being a listener, and I'm going to let them teach me. And what happened was like a 5-6 year masterclass in what it means to be alongside someone. And I discovered that there is a difference between professional therapeutic listening, trained counsellors, and goodness knows they do an amazing job, and I'm very grateful to one of them who turned my life around. But you are expecting them to listen, and you're expecting them to make eye contact with you, as opposed to everyday community listening when somebody that you know and love is troubled and they're trying to share with you, but they're a bit embarrassed or a bit not sure how to express themselves. And that listening is quite different.
Yes.
And so then I began to make notes about what I was being taught in terms of what does it mean to listen alongside. And one of the huge things that came back was it's all about presence. So that where I thought it was eye contact, a lot of the time when people are feeling very vulnerable, eye contact is too much. It's almost like you just shone a spotlight on them and they go, yeah. So I realised that sometimes we have our best conversations when, you know, everyday life, we're in the car, or we're washing up together, or we're out on a walk, and or when we're giving somebody a therapeutic treatment. How many people that are listening to this right now would think, yeah, it's when I'm doing somebody's feet and when I really get into it, that's when they start talking. They have me there, but we're not necessarily looking at each other.
Do you think that when you were saying there about the eye contact, if it's too intense, it's almost like someone's trying to see into your soul and you're not ready to let them in yet? Maybe that is part of that feeling when the eye contact gets uncomfortable. And why is eye contact, why does it become uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. And I think the other thing that I didn't realize I was doing was, you know, the situations when a stranger might approach you and suddenly share something quite deep with you, and afterwards you think, I wonder why they came up to me. Well, I worked out they've come up to you because they read your aura, they read who you are, and they think, they instinctively know you're safe, or in my parlance, you can rock them, you can be their rock. Steady, safe, they can bash and crash against you.
Yeah.
And what they then don't want you to do is turn into somebody else. Turn into suddenly, oh, I'm listening to you, because that's a totally different energetic signature.
Yeah.
And when that penny dropped, it was huge, because I suddenly realized, just be me, because they'll either choose me or they'll choose someone else. So authenticity suddenly took all the pressure off. It took all the pressure off of being a listener, and thought, instead, just be alongside someone and see what happens. Yeah, it's been huge. It's a way of being. And so what happened was the patients were teaching me this, and then I was taking it home and I was trying a different approach with my husband and my son and then my friends, and that's how the book slowly evolved.
Right. So this all formed the basis for the book. And when did you write the book? Or was it a long process, or did you just sit down one day and start writing?
I did. Well, what happened is, I'll be absolutely honest, I burnt out. So what happened is, I'd been volunteering, and then I lost 4 people who I'd known for 4 years, all died within a month of each other. And the last lady that died really, really reminded me of my mum. So it brought up all that grief again. And anybody that's listening that's lost people will know that sometimes grief is triggered by new grief, right? So, and off it can go again. And I burnt out. And so I had to take some time off from volunteering. And that's when I started writing the book. So I wrote the book 3 years ago, and then gave it to a friend of mine to have a look at. And she read it for me, she proofed it for me, and she didn't really say anything about it. And I said, do you like the book? And she said, oh, I don't really like self-help books. And I thought, oh, have I written a self-help book? That wasn't quite what I had in mind. So I literally put the proofs in a drawer. And then about a year later, I got them out again, and I thought, I'm going to have to rewrite this, but rewrite it absolutely, honestly, warts and all. And so that's what I did. I brought me and my journey into it.
Yes.
Yeah. So 3 years in the making.
So your book's well and truly established. It's
doing well. Yeah, people seem to like it. So yeah.
And you've got a couple of courses going on. You're doing some work for. You did tell me.
Yeah, the College of Psychic Studies.
That was it.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. I mean, it's lovely to teach for them. And obviously, before lockdown, you'd go up, and it's a very grand building next to the Natural History Museum in South Kent. So yes, you feel very, very grown up.
Yeah.
So yes, I've been doing some TLC training, which is part of the Soul Midwife School program. So it's like a day workshop to introduce people to the ideas of soul midwifery. So I am teaching a class in March online,
right,
for college. Yeah. And on this Sunday, I'm teaching Being Rocker, doing a half-day workshop on listening. And it's all about redefining how we listen, because I realized the big difference, I think, or the reason I wasn't succeeding with everybody, the patients and the family, is because we can be the best listeners in the world, but if the person, the speaker, isn't feeling heard, it's not working. So how do we enable people to actually feel heard, seen, witnessed, held by us?
Yeah.
And that's been a huge learning curve, and also a huge learning curve in so it's not just the listening, it's how we respond after the listening. Because if we respond like, oh, I know how you feel, and then tell your story, you've kind of overridden the beauty of your presence in the first place.
Yeah.
Because you've swapped it to be about you, not meaning to be rude, not meaning to be horrible, but it's just what we've all learned to do, or we've go into offering solutions or whatever. So I've learned how to take me out take me out of the situation and think, okay, right now is a rock moment, so I have to be rock, and it isn't about me at all.
And this is so fascinating, because where I am now, where I'm creating this platform to help people get their work out there that have got messages for the world, I'm on speaking courses which are all about learning to speak to inspire, so people that want to transform or change their life. And that's a total way of presenting yourself to what you're talking about here, which is learning how to listen. So you've got people in your audience that it's almost like the total opposite. There's two different trajectories here, and both are equally valid. So that's what really highlighted that actually, although my course is all about speaking to inspire, there is a huge listening element to what people actually want, what they want to get out of it. And as you say, they want to be heard, as opposed to having someone changing their life. I'll have to think about this a bit more, because that's really got my mind going about that.
I think, Jackie, what you do is you inspire change in people. And I think that's where I feel that you and I meet, because I feel that all the people I sat with were inspiring me to change. And what happened was I had to look at myself as a listener and do spiritual practice on myself. So, that presence that we've been taught to hold in our meditations and everything, well, we need to hold that when we're listening too. So it was about me taking all the resources that, you teach all the time, but how do we then apply that to the everyday moment? So I have this really cheesy, and I'm sorry, it's really cheesy, way of reminding myself. Say if I have difficulty with my son, there's something I have to teach him, and I can see he's going the wrong way, for instance. I now say to myself, Mandy, you have to rock before you do your roll. So I have to rock before I roll. So I have to hear him first, greet him where he is first, not where I want him to be, but where he is.
Yeah.
Allow him to feel heard in the moment. And then after he feels heard, guide him. Or inspire him. But first I have to hold that energy of earth presence, maybe.
Yeah, and holding space.
Holding space. Yeah.
which we learned about so much, didn't we, in the soul midwifery training?
Exactly. It's, it really is. And also I noticed that, you know, with people with body language, it's really fascinating how to look at how people react in different situations. So, you know, if people are feeling stuff very internally, like everything's a weight on their shoulders, not only does their body do that, but they actually talk like that too. They will hide the words that are really, really worrying them amongst a load of other things so you don't notice. So, you know, they might drop something into the conversation and then instantly dismiss it.
Yeah.
It's because they're in and they're hiding. Whereas if somebody is very angry about something that's happened to them or a situation, you know, goodness knows there's a lot of tension and anger about what's happening with lockdown. They show it very dramatically and it's very big and they get very ranty, you know, and it's like this huge storm that comes out of people's mouths. And so I've been watching and observing and thinking, you know, can we hear people in both situations? And I think it is, again, about holding space, even when that is very tricky for us. If we can, again, think it's not about me, it's about where they are. And all my job is to be steady for them. Yeah.
As you say, you're their rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes the pressure off, but also it reminds me that I also have to be my own inner rock, because, you know, when I was in burnout, I realized that I wasn't doing self-care. And I know how many of the people that listen to you, Jackie, are giving and giving and giving that group of energy that they really give to the world. And we say we all do self-care, but actually, you know, saying we do it and actually doing it are quite a different thing.
Absolutely.
And I was definitely guilty of that. I was playing at self-care. And so I turned everything around that I learned from being rock and reflected it at myself. So could I be present for myself? Could I observe myself? Could I then reflect back to me, oh, you know, you're feeling anger today. It's okay. And then give myself empathy. You know, you're trying your best. It's a tough day today, or this is a tough situation. What do you then need to do to make yourself feel better? So actually talking to myself and listening to myself. And that's part of the book. It's two parts: listening to others and then listening to yourself. But that's been huge for me in trying to ensure that those who hear others also feel heard.
Oh wow, you've done some really good work there, man. And what was the other course? You got this one with the psychic studies, and you've got another one starting?
Yes, I'm doing the TLC for the Soul Midwife School, but I also teach for the Soul Midwife School. So I teach the listening thing. So there, Felicity Warner's got her program, and I go along and teach the listening element of that, which is really fantastic. So it's great.
Oh, and for me, it's so nice to see the soul midwifery has really taken off, and I know it's all nationwide now. Felicity's done a wonderful job with her foundation, and it's such a beautiful practice. So any listeners that are drawn to that, seek Mandy out and look up the soul midwives, and get on it, because the way we view death and dying is perhaps changing, and people are becoming, or not more aware of it, because death has always been a part of life, but it's sort of coming to the forefront so much now with what we're facing out there in the world, and people are having to look at that perhaps a bit more, and it's becoming reality for perhaps a lot more people. So if you help take away the fear around the whole subject, because it is a big scary subject, but once you start looking at it and looking at it as a part of life, it becomes a different concept almost, and we can live our lives so much freer and easier if we've looked at the subject and not but no, I'm not thinking about that, and push it under the carpet. It's got to come out and be looked at. So, Mandy, thank you so much for that. And have you got any last words for our listeners?
Oh, last words for listeners. I get a huge thank you for all the listening that you do in the world and all the times you support people. And remember that you're always enough. We beat ourselves up constantly thinking about the things that we didn't do. Just today, remember all the things you have done and do, because that's really important. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. Brilliant to see
what
you.
Mandy was saying there about the self-care, and I've heard this several times, well, over the last year, actually, probably quite a bit, but especially in the last couple of weeks where I've been doing these interviews, a lot of people are coming back to the self-care and how important that really is. So, go on things like, well, when we can, go on those retreats or get online to some retreats and do some spiritual work, because this is all going to feed your soul and help you to bring what your purpose is to the world, and get clear on that. And it's a continuing thing. All the courses and all the training I'm doing, they all come back to your daily practice of looking after yourself is key to how you move forward with your business or whatever it is. If you volunteer, whatever it is you're getting out there to the world, you've got to get yourself in that state first, and that is daily practice. So for me, I go out for a walk every single day, whether I want to or not. Very rarely miss. Sometimes I do miss a day, but I miss it if I do miss my hour's walk. I'm really feeling it. I need that fresh air. I need that connection with nature.
Yes.
For me, that's a must do every day. So, and it was a little quick walk with my mum this morning around the blocks.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
So,
and one of the things, Jackie, we've been doing with some of my friends is, when you really need to talk to somebody, but you can't quite, you don't want to text them and say, can you talk to me, or I'm low or whatever. So I've got an agreement with some of my friends. So we've all chosen rocks. This is mine. And what we do is we text each other the picture of the rock. And all that means is when you've got a moment, I'm actually feeling a bit low.
Yeah, check it.
And so you don't have to vocalize it or anything. You just say, and we use it at home. So my son's got one. So if he's feeling low and doesn't know quite what to say, he goes and puts it by the kettle, because I go to the kettle quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it's working really well, because I'll just say, if I see it, I just say, should we go for a walk? Let's go for a walk.
Yeah. And that's a really good opportunity, isn't it, to get outside and in a neutral space, as it were, and have those conversations. Oh, well, we could talk all afternoon, man.
Oh, we could. Thank you so much, Jackie.
So, thank you so much again for listening to us. It's been all about listening, hasn't it, this one?
Yeah.
My gratitude to Mandy, and I will post how you can contact Mandy underneath this video. So get in touch and let me know how you get on. And
okay, thank you. And my book's on Amazon if anybody wants it, or in my midwife school shop. So
we'll put the links up. So
lovely.
Thank you all so much for listening, and catch me next time. I should be back tomorrow with another lovely, delicious conversation. Bye for now.